Welcome. I'm glad you're a part of my people. I am Chris Bergman. I'm a local entrepreneur. I, as Unpolished was being created, this conference was being created, I was asked to come up, take a few minutes and give you guys encouragement. So just to set context, my goal here today is to tell you a little bit about my story. And I know not all of it will apply to all of you, but hopefully there's a little nugget that you're like, hey man, I'm going through that right now, or I've been through that, and I just want you to know that it works out well. I know there's a clicker somewhere. There it is. Beautiful. So I'm the founder and CEO of Chore Monster. Chore Monster is a web and mobile app that allows parents and kids to actually enjoy doing chores. Kids gain points, turn them in for real-life rewards, like an hour of Xbox, television show, canoe trip, sharp knives, whatever you want to give your kids. And on top of that, kids get to collect over 100 different interactive monsters or earn consolation prizes like a jar of farts, dirty underwear, stinky socks. We take our job very seriously, obviously. So we've received about $5 million in funding thus far. That's not necessarily a pat on the back. Obviously, I'd take a bunch more than that if I could get it. But it's been quite a bit of a road thus far. To this point, I think the biggest thing that $5 million has got me is about the 30 pounds that you gain when starting a startup. So I can definitely sympathize with Brian on that one. We've had tens of millions of chores completed on Chore Monster, which is pretty cool. A lot of happy families, made beds, and kids getting rewarded for cool stuff. But the thing that's really important to me from a metric standpoint is we've had hundreds of millions of parent-child interactions around household tasks in the home. Our mission is to create the most ridiculously fun and motivating framework for families and to turn every single home into a joyful place. And this year's been pretty good, man. We've received a couple of different awards. Parent Magazine said we were one of the best apps for families. Appies gave us Best Family App. We beat out Nickelodeon and PBS Kids on both of those, so bam, got them. Oh, come on. Well, Disney's been an incredible partner, also an investor, and we were part of the Disney Accelerator last year. One of our peers was, one of the other people in the Accelerator was Sphero, which just released the BB-8 little droid that you guys have seen. I still haven't got mine. I got to send them an email. And then we were alumni of the Brandery in 2011. Also, one of the cool things is Julie Bowen, who's the mom from Modern Family, says we're amazing. And that was completely unsolicited. So it's cool to get those like, oh man, the mom from Modern Family loves me. That makes me feel pretty good. And success feels pretty good, right? But it wasn't always this way for us. And also, I think we have a long way to go. Otherwise, I'd be up here for more than 15 minutes. But even to get to this point, the route that I took to get there was through failure. The route that God brought me through was through failure. And so I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about feeling like a black sheep in your environment, and then how God has brought me to this stage at this very moment in time. I grew up in an interesting family situation. By the time I was 9 years old, I was on the third version of a father figure, and this particular father figure was very blue collar. My whole family's very blue collar, and he believed that work should be hard, that you should come home every single day and be exhausted and hurt. And if you're not doing that, you're not working. This was hard for me because I was a scrawny little white nerdy kid. I've seen friends who have wonderful axes that they can cut down trees at man camp. I am not that guy. I was interested in video games and comic books and computers. So much so that when I was 12 years old, I actually built my first BBS, which was the precursor to what became websites, essentially. And my family held it against me a little bit. And I didn't feel like I belonged in that environment. My dad told me at the time, my stepdad, but he told me that Only successful and wealthy people can go out and create the things that you like. He literally said those words to me, and he believed it. Because to him, work was putting your head down, listening to what your boss tells you, and stop being childish. And so I felt like a black sheep in my own home as a kid. And school was similar. I was actually in elementary and junior high, I was a part of a Montessori program that was an experiment inside public schools, which I'm very thankful for. I learned a lot I actually learned how to learn in those Montessori programs. But as a kid, I was taken out of normal classrooms and sent literally to a trailer outside of the school. As a kid, to me, normal was impossible. My environment wouldn't allow me to be a normal person. I thought maybe that'll change in high school. I'll go to a normal school. I'll leave the Montessori behind, go to St. X. Are people, enough local people here know what St. X is? Yeah. What high school did you go to? Yeah, you know you're from Cincinnati when you hear that. But it was worse for me. I continued to not be able to fit in. I just wanted to go make things. And so much so that I ended up getting kicked out and actually did not finish high school altogether. But in that time, I left St. X. I went to a public school for a little bit. And I found something very unique. I found a substitute teacher, long-term substitute. I was 17. I was an atheist. And I was a mouthy teenager, which really just meant that I was kind of an asshole. And this teacher realized that school wasn't really working for me, but he wanted to show me something that was a bit more important than if I was going to get an A on a test. And that was God. And he took the time, he took 3 months and started arguing with me. And was incredibly patient, and later on I found out that argument was apologetics. He was very particular to talk about the logical defense of faith. And as a 17-year-old, I got down on my knees in a public school in Cincinnati, prayed the prayer, and found God. Hey, that's pretty cool. And his name is Mr. Schneider, and I haven't been able to connect with him. But if any of you guys know a Mr. Schneider that taught at Northwest High School, let me know. So of course, let me see where, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, of course, I found God. That means I'm immediately successful, right? That's why we're all here. No, not at all. But my perspective changed completely. I stopped blaming everyone else. I stopped blaming my environment. I realized I was made with purpose. And that, you know what, maybe I was wired to be different, and normal wasn't something that was achievable for me. But maybe God was going to use that in a particular way. So, after not completing high school, I realized I was unemployable, which I still am to this day. But, hey, all right. I thought, let's start a business. So I opened a coffee shop and a music venue called 4th and Main. 4th and Main Coffee House was in Dayton, Ohio. I started with 4 friends of mine in our early 20s. And I got to tell you, starting a music venue in your early 20s, do you know what success looks like? Hanging out with girls that were way out of your league. It worked. But as an actual business, it was a huge failure. We lost a ton of money, capital that was our own, as well as the man that owned that building. We lost a lot of his money. I specifically remember a moment in time where $3,000 had disappeared. And this was $3,000 that we owed him in rent. And me, being the mouthy one, It was my job to go tell him that. And he sat me down and he said, Chris, I want you to know that $3,000 was our family vacation. You just made sure that my kids don't get to go on vacation. That sucks. And I had disappointed him. And I found out later that money went missing because of another partner. So I learned a couple of things in that. I learned that you need to pick partners with character and integrity. Right? I heard that. And I also learned how to market. One of the advantages that we did have in building a music venue is how to bring people to events. And so I learned a lot about customer acquisition. So I started another company after that, because that's the logical thing to do. If you fail, just do it again. I actually started this company, Pause Magazine, which is a print music magazine in the early 2000s. So those of you that are laughing understand product market fit. And I had just gotten married, and my wife and I had just bought a house, and we're like, man, we're adults now. What should we do? Let's take out a personal loan and pour all our money into a print magazine. Whoops, sorry. And obviously it didn't do well. The music industry was dead. Print was dying. And so through this failure, I learned about product market fit. Create something of value for a market that's willing to pay for it. The music industry had no value because they had no money for advertising. And print, like Borders, couldn't make it. Do you think a nerd like me, doing a music magazine was going to be able to do this? So I was like, okay, product market fit. What can I do? Technology. And I went back to my nerdy days and realized that I loved building websites and started Wiseacre Digital. I had found a partner of mine that had a ton of character and integrity, also an incredibly talented designer. We started Wiseacre Digital. We started building web and mobile sites for a ton of big brands. And we had some success. We were really happy to have built a business that we could live off of. And it was an incredible lifestyle business. It allowed me to play a lot of video games, which is what I care about. But we had a challenge, and that challenge was in scale. It's service-oriented, required us to, we could only scale as many hours that we could bill. And I knew that I wanted to build something for ourselves. I wanted to build a product for ourselves. But I hadn't figured out how to do that. And then my wife became pregnant with our first son. And I thought about what it was like to grow up in that family that I grew up in. And I realized that I didn't want him to grow up in that family. I wanted him to know that work should be fun, that it should be enjoyable, and that you should pursue fun and joy. And so we created Chore Monster, fourth business, and we finally got some success. Julie Bowen knows what Chore Monster is. But I'm still learning. I'm learning every day. I'm learning about scale. I'm learning about leadership, how to lead people, how to manage people, how to deal with business development and corporate partnerships. Because now I have to interact with those normal people that were really good at school when I wasn't. And for me, there's some communication challenges in that. So I just wanted to get up here. I wanted to say that I found success through failure. That is not my misspelling, by the way. Somebody redid my slides. I found success through failure. And that God really, every bit of learning that I've had that has brought me here, every single bit. Hey! That's a good AV team right there. Every bit of learning that I've had, because I was wired differently. School wasn't necessarily for me, and so God knew that the only way that He could get through my thick skull was through failure. And so maybe you're in the same boat. Go fail, trust God through it. Thank you guys very much.